the second hour of the current episode, and today we're going to follow up on a story that will not die. And for those freedom-loving people in the United States, you don't want this story to die. This is a follow-up with our friend John Morse. That's right, the soon-to-be former president of the state Senate, the Colorado State Senate. And this story is a follow-up. It says the Secretary of State, the Colorado Secretary of State, has validated the signatures in the recall effort for John Morse to move and has moved the procedure forward. So what does that mean? Well, if you guys, if you haven't been paying attention, you didn't know what's going on. John Morse, the president of the Colorado State Senate, was one of the guys instrumental in passing the horrible, unconstitutional, anti-freedom new gun bill in Colorado. And he was the guy that went to his fellow senators and said, don't listen to your constituents, just do what you know is right. So don't listen to the people that voted for you. Don't listen to them because they're just peasants and they don't know what they're talking about. But the good people of Colorado have worked their butts off, and they followed the rule of the law, and they recalled him. They had to go out and get signatures. Now, the last story we had, they had collected more than enough signatures, but the signatures had to go to the Secretary of State, the Colorado Secretary of State, to be checked, to be validated. And they had to come up with so many. Well, guess what? Not surprising to us, because we don't work for Acorn and we don't ballot stuff and we don't vote. Good people don't vote 6 times in one election cycle. But not surprisingly, they have plenty of signatures. And so where does it go from here? Well, it gets even more complicated. It says that Mr. Morse has 15 days to challenge the signatures. But if his protest fails, the governor, Hickenlooper, will be charged with setting a recall election date between 45 and 75 days from the end of the protest period. So if in Colorado, if the governor who signed this egregious bill and his cohorts in the Senate, if they're going to follow the law is very specific about what they can do. Now, so we know that. We know that the citizens in John Morse's district, that they recalled him, that they gathered signatures so that he would be removed from office, that they would have to have a recall election. And we can only assume that he's going to lose that recall election, since more people signed the recall effort. They got more signatures to recall him than he received votes to get elected last time. So that doesn't bode well for him. Now, it says in the story, in the Washington Times story, it says that he can, Mr. Morse can avoid all this by simply resigning and saying, okay, I got it. I'm a bad boy and I'm just going to go ahead and resign. But according to Mr. Morse, he has no intention of resigning. And the story gets even more bizarre. Or if you want a look into the heart and soul of these people, the people who claim to be public servants, these elected officials, but they get in there. They're just part of this machine. They get enough money from their party to buy enough commercial time and to get enough low education voters to put them in there. And then they set themselves up as de facto dictators. Well, Mr. Morse's campaign has gone to his defense on Facebook. That's right. They went to Facebook and they posted a request on John Morse's Facebook page, according to the story from the Washington Times, appealing to out-of-state help from the people. They put a phone list out to people in Boston, Massachusetts, and San Francisco, California, asking them to call in and express their, displeasure. I'm like, all right, hang on a second. Stop. Has the train left the tracks? So here we have the president of the Colorado State Senate. That's right. He is elected by the people of the state of Colorado, a sovereign state, not the people of California or Massachusetts, New Jersey, or New York, but Colorado. So this guy, his solution is, Well, these ungrateful peasants in Colorado want me to leave. My friends in the enlightened Republic of California and the enlightened Republic of Massachusetts, I want you to call in and support. What? Have you lost your freaking mind? I got an idea, John. Why don't you go ahead, resign, pack up all of your stuff, and move to San Francisco and run for election there? If you think the people of San Francisco are so sympathetic to your cause, why don't you go run for council member or state senator in California or Massachusetts? How in the world and like I said, this is a look into the mind and the soul of these people who get into power and assume that they are your rulers, not public servants, not representatives of the people, but the people's rulers. So the people who put this guy in office say, no, you overstepped your bounds way beyond the norm. You're gone. You need to leave. So rather than addressing his own voters, he's going to cry to San Francisco and Boston. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. And Jared's going to put that link up for you guys so you can share it with your friends because you may not be aware of it. But yeah, that's an excellent look into the mind and soul of Mr. John Morse. Well, John Morse is also the one that said these gun owners are sick and have what did he say? They have a mental disease. People who want to own guns have a mental disease. That's our boy John Morse. Now, this next topic comes again from the Student of the Gun mailbag from our Facebook. Now, don't forget, if you want to be a student of the week, now we can only pick one student of the week each week. I mean, that's just the way it works. But a lot of the material and a lot of the topics that we do discuss during Student of the Gun Radio, they are based upon suggestions from you guys out there in the audience that you put forward. Either you send us letters at info@studentofthegun.com, or you've just gone to the Student of the Gun Facebook page and posted comments and questions. And some of them, you guys, you post them up and they're really long questions. And I think some of you are like, well, man, how come Paul hasn't answered me yet? You know, I sent this question in 3-4 days ago and he hasn't answered. Well, folks, have patience because a lot of times, when I read these questions, I think rather than just me answer back to one individual or put it on the Facebook where only a couple of people or a few people are going to see it, it's better off being addressed right here in this format on Student of the Gun Radio so that everybody can learn from your question. And one of the questions came from a gentleman. He said he was at, it doesn't matter where specifically it was, but he was at a large outdoor sporting goods store. And there were a couple of people in there and they were open carrying legally. They were legally open carrying. And he said that he observed them and that they seemed to be oblivious or they didn't have good situational awareness. And would it be okay or proper to approach somebody in a situation like that and say, hey, you need to pay better attention to your surroundings and so forth? Well, this is what I'm going to call the well-meaning man, the person with good intentions. Danger, danger, danger. The danger of giving free advice. And as well-meaning as you are, if you or me or anyone else approaches a stranger in a public setting and starts offering unsolicited advice, this is the way the human man is. And this is the way the human man that carries a gun is. They're going to look at you and they're going to give you that face, that I just sniffed a turd face, that who are you and why are you giving me advice face? And it's not just about, in this particular situation, we're talking about an open carry situation. That's okay. But if you've ever gone to a public range, whether it's an indoor range or an outdoor range, that is frequented by the public, and you see people doing things, not necessarily unsafe, but just strange. I've seen more than my share of strange or unusual shooting positions or ways to hold a gun or ways to stand and so forth. And if you've been to school, you've been to a class, you've been trained and there is a better way to do that thing. You see a guy shooting at one of those giant B-27 silhouettes 5 yards away, and and it looks like he's patterning buckshot at 20 yards, it's, and you think, God, dude, you're just wasting ammunition because you're barely able to hit a man at 5 yards. Maybe I should offer you some advice. Stop yourself. I used to be that guy. I was the well-meaning guy. And, I've been through innumerable training courses, both as a student. I've been through innumerable instructor courses. I would venture to say that when I'm on the range, when we're out there on the range, a lot of times we're out, filming over at the side of the range, or we're testing out a new product or what have you, that while we're on the range at that moment, that our crew has as much or more legitimate training and teaching experience with firearms than anybody else who happens to be on the range that day. But I don't open my mouth and I don't give free advice because it's not welcome and it's not wanted. It's one thing if you're down there on your end and you're doing what you do and a guy walks up and he kind of says, hey, could I ask you, I see what you're doing and can I ask you, that is not unsolicited advice. That is solicited advice. And that is the time to say, oh yeah, sure. What you want to do is whatever. But the worst thing you can do is walk up to somebody and watch them and then offer your advice, because men being men they don't want to hear it. And who are you to them? Really, who are you to them? They're like, who the hell are you? I don't know you. I don't need your advice. And as well-meaning as you are, it's like, you have nothing but, true, genuine, good feelings in your heart. The fact is your advice is probably not going to be taken, and it's probably not going to be very well received. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk on that statement. If you are on a public range somewhere and you observe someone doing something or acting in an unsafe manner. Now, when I say unsafe manner, I don't mean he's not doing things the way you do. Just because someone holds a gun or stands differently than the way you do doesn't make them unsafe. If they're violating one of the big four, and we talked about those, if they're violating one of the 4 universal safety rules, you have 2 options. You can either approach them about it and say, hey, buddy, do me a favor. Don't point your muzzle over here where I'm standing. Or you can leave. And it's going to be situational. You might approach them and you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to say, hey, dude, check it out. Move your, say, hey, could you do me a favor? Make sure, don't point your gun over here where I'm at or whatever. Or I noticed that, when you turn around, every time you turn around, you're pointing the gun over in my direction. I appreciate it if you wouldn't do that. And if they're a mature person, then they'll be like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. Either that or they're going to give you that face, that who are you face. And if they give you that face, look, your life is not worth it. Leave. Just go somewhere else. Go to another part of the range or go out and go have lunch or coffee or whatever and then come back later. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Number one, it's not worth getting into an argument on a public range with somebody. But it's also not worth putting yourself in danger or in jeopardy or the people that are with you because some other bozo doesn't want to pay attention. Now, there's lots of different, recourses. And like I said, there's a big difference between someone violating a universal safety rule and doing things differently than the way you do. You see that a lot on public ranges where you got people that are maybe, they're longtime club members or they're trapper skeet shooters or they're whatever, and they see someone do something differently, drawing a different way or holding a gun a different way. And they're like, oh, what are you doing over there? It's like, oh, as long as they're not violating the big four, it's not that they're unsafe. But as far as the well-meaning man, should I approach someone and give them my unsolicited advice? My advice to you, because it was solicited, would be no. That really is not what you want to do. Now that the open carry question leads us right into our primary topic for this segment, and that is open carry advice. Now, in the state of Mississippi, the law has already been passed. It's already been signed by the governor. And Mississippi is about to become officially on July 1st, 2013, an open carry state. Now, Mississippi, they already have concealed carry. It's a shall issue permit system. They issue them to residents of the state. There are no, last time I looked at the law hadn't been amended, and you can't get a Mississippi permit if you're an out of state resident. You have to prove residency of Mississippi to get a permit. But people in the gun world, we gun people, if it's one topic that we, especially lately, last, 5-6 years, that we like to argue with each other about, it's open carry. You've got both camps, but, and I really deliberately have stayed out of it. I've stayed out of the argument because to me, I'm going to do what is lawful and what I know is correct and just drive on. I don't need to argue about it, but it's going to be a hot topic, especially, anytime a state, whether it's Florida or Texas or California or whomever, anytime a state alters or changes any type of gun law in a major way. Like, for instance, when Arizona went to constitutional carry, you no longer in Arizona have to request permission from the commissar. If you're a lawful citizen and you're not forbidden from owning a firearm by law, you can carry it, open or concealed or whatever. And I applaud Arizona for that. But Mississippi, now in Mississippi, if you want to conceal a firearm on your person in public, you still have to get a permit. You still have to get a concealed carry permit. And it's really not all that difficult in Mississippi to get one. You just have to do the paperwork, pay the fees and all that stuff. But the big thing that people are getting all antsy about, and this always happens, and 6 months from now, it'll be no big deal. But for right now, it is a big deal. As well, that's, open carry is the stupidest thing that I ever heard. And it is amazing to me that pro Second Amendment people, concealed carry people who think that American citizens should maintain the right to defend themselves against crime and tyranny with firearms. Those same people will have just heated, off-the-charts arguments and yelling matches with their friends and acquaintances over how stupid open carry is and how it's a step backwards. And like, whoa. Stop. When a state allows open carry, what does that, does that law harm people that are gun owners? Or does it help people that are gun owners? Does it harm the cause or help the cause? Now, some people say, no, it hurts because now people will see people with guns and they'll be more afraid and so forth and so on. So you're telling me that the people up in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and Connecticut, you tell me that the citizens up there have greater respect for firearms because their citizens are forbidden from open carrying than the citizens in Arizona? Because, people in Arizona open carry. And because of that, all of the other citizens in Arizona hate guns and are afraid of guns because of all the open carriers. Is that the way it works? So by your logic, by your argument, the people of Connecticut and New Jersey are more tolerant and accepting and open to gun owners and to firearms because they never see them. But the people in open carry states are afraid of them. Really? Do you believe that? Do you hear what you're saying? That's bullcrap, and it is. You know that is not the case. You know that the people in New Jersey and New York and Connecticut and all these other slave states, that they've been conditioned to view firearms as bad. Only criminals and bad people have firearms. Ergo, guns are bad. In Arizona, we've talked about this before, but I'll hit on it again. In Arizona, in free, the countryside out in Arizona, not so much in the city of Phoenix itself, but Prescott area out in the country, seeing a person with a holstered pistol walking around is no big deal. It's not. Arizona has been legal open carry for as long as I've been going to Arizona, which has probably been 12, 13 years or so. It's been that long. So the citizens of Arizona, it's not a big deal to them. They don't see a gun and pee down their legs. The only people that see guns and pee down their legs in Arizona are California tourists. And we call that Operation Hippie Scare, right? That's how you know. Well, it looks like, Mississippi right now is going to be, they've signed on to Operation Hippie Scare. And what we're going to find out come July 1st is all of the hippies are going to profile themselves, because when they see citizens wearing guns, they're going to get scared and tinkle down their legs. Now, am I saying that on July 1st, I'm going to stop concealing a handgun and I'm going to just carry open all the time everywhere I go? No, of course I'm not going to do that. Of course I'm not. Let me give you some open carry advice. Well, first and foremost, I've already carried open. I carried open carry for over 17 years. You're looking at your radio or your iPod. You're going, what? 17 years? But didn't you just say no? I was a police officer. I wore a uniform. I had a nice shiny black belt, and I had a holster, and it had a gun on it, and I open carried every single time I went to work. Well, that's different. That's different because you're a policeman and you were allowed to do it, and citizens aren't allowed. No. We're not talking about allowed. We're talking about tactics. We're talking about whether or not it's a good or a bad tactic. Well, but people expect cops to have guns, and so it's okay for them to be open. All right, I got that. I've got that point. But that has nothing to do with say, well, if bad people, and the big thing that the anti-open carry people will say is it's a bad tactic, it's poor tactics. It gives the bad guy the advantage of knowing who the armed people are. And, the advantage of concealed carry is that the bad guy never knows who's armed until they actually, do a bad thing, and then the good guys pull their gun out. Okay, I got you, and I'm with you on that. But when it comes to open carry tactics, as a police officer, you're like, if you were a bad person that didn't have a gun, but you wanted to get one by jumping or attacking somebody that had a gun, who do you always know has a gun with them everywhere they go? Police officers, right? Well, but I would never attack a police officer. Why? Because he has a gun? Well, no, you wouldn't, because you're a good person. But you say, well, a bad person would never attack a police officer because why? Well, because the cop has a gun. And he probably knows how to use it. Okay. So by your logic, bad people won't attack a police officer who has an exposed gun because they're afraid that the police officer will know how to use the gun and will shoot them with it. Okay, but they will attack a citizen who has an exposed gun because they assume that the citizen doesn't know how to use it and won't shoot them. Is that correct? Come on, guys. Come on. And I'm not going to another thing about arguing tactics. People will argue tactics with you that they've read in magazines or seen on YouTube channels. If you're going to argue tactics with me, I want to know when you've carried a gun for a living. When and where have you carried a gun for a living and how long? Don't argue tactics with me because you read a magazine article. Now, from a tactical standpoint, let's go back to tactics because everyone likes to talk, everyone likes to say that word. If you are the only person open carrying in your area, whether it's when you go to the grocery store or the restaurant or the movie theater or whatever, you are a lunatic. You are viewed as a crazy person. Even though you're not breaking the law, okay, it's technically legal. You can open carry. Even though you're not breaking the law, if you're the only one in the pizza joint that has a gun on that people can see, you're the crazy person. You're the focus of the attention. You're the one that everybody sits there in Pizza Hut and stares at because you have a gun on. And maybe you like that kind of attention, and that's fine. But my point is this. That is not the best time. From a tactical standpoint, that is not the time you want to open carry. You don't want to open carry when you're going about with your family and you're doing your business and you're not in a fighting or a tactical mode. Go ahead and cover the thing up so nobody knows that it's there until you actually need it. Now, conversely, if you're with a group of other patriots, if you're with a group of other citizens, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of you, and you are at an event, you go somewhere here, there, and all of you have guns on, well then rather than being one lone nut job, it's an entire group of people, and you may actually put yourself in a situation where those who don't have a gun on are the strange minority. Well, hey, I see you have a gun on. Yeah, I see you don't. What's wrong? Why don't you? and if you're in a group of 5 or 6 people and you're eating in a restaurant, you're not the single focus of attention. Now, you could what if this to death. Literally, you could sit here for hours and, well, what if I'm in a grocery store? What if I'm in a movie theater? What if I'm getting gas? What if I'm walking down the street? What if I'm going to my mailbox? Okay, stop yourself. There's a time for yes and a time for no. But when a state affirms open carry, what they're doing is they're affirming the right of the citizen to be armed. Any state that passes an open carry law, do you know how the kind of guts it takes for a state senator and a state representative, and the guts it takes for a governor to sign a bill giving people or affirming the Second Amendment? Think about that for a second. How, in today's world where you got Nanny Bloomberg dumping millions of dollars into an anti-gun campaign nationwide, Nanny Bloomberg he's not satisfied to disarm the people in New York State and New York City. No. Nanny Bloomberg wants to disarm you in Texas, in Georgia, in Nebraska, wherever you're listening to the sound of my voice. He wants you to be disarmed as well. And he's spending all of his money campaigning against your right. And he's got lobbyists, and he's got people in Colorado and San Francisco and Boston and New Jersey. He's got these mayors against illegal guns who we're finding out, if you read the paper or the internet, that these mayors against illegal guns are a bunch of thugs and reprobates. But I digress. He's got these people in his pocket. And for a governor and a state house and a state Congress, the representatives, to sign their names and vote for a pro-gun bill, and that's what an open carry bill is. It's not anti-gun. You think Bloomberg likes open carry? You think Hickenlooper, Lickenbottom, whatever his name is in Colorado, and his little minion, John Morse, you think those guys like open carry? Do you think they're like, oh man, that's awesome. Mississippi just passed an open carry law, and so that's going to get guns out of people's hands? No, they hate it. And if Bloomberg hates it, I think it's a great idea. So it takes guts to be an elected official in 2013 and to vote for a pro-gun bill. And that's what happened in Mississippi, and it's happened recently in Louisiana. Bobby Jindal just signed 6 pro-gun bills in Louisiana. The week before that, Rick Perry in Texas signed 4 or 5, maybe 6 pro-gun bills supporting and reinforcing and bolstering the Second Amendment. That takes guts in this modern world, because let's face it, most politicians stick their finger in the air, and if anybody whines or cries or throws a fit, they fold like a house of cards. And so next time you're having an open carry or concealed carry debate with any of your friends, and you got one of those guys like, that's the stupidest thing anybody could ever do, say, well, I think it was pretty gutsy for the governor of Mississippi to sign that bill. Don't you? And see what they say. Maybe, I guess, but still it's stupid. Okay. If you choose to open carry, if you decide I'm going to open carry, real quick side note, I really hope that as of July 1st, that the state of Mississippi slips even farther down on the Brady list of favorable states. I want to be right now. The Arizona is number 50 out of 50 on their list. I think Mississippi's in the low 40s, but I really hope that we slip down. I hope we get 0 points from the Brady campaign. That would make me happy. But if you're going to open carry, let's say you decided, you know what? I'm a citizen. I'm not a bad person. I'm educated. I'm trained, and I'm going to carry. And I don't care what you think. Rock on. But here's what you need to pay attention to. Number 1, situational awareness. And this goes back to our previous question. The guy said that these guys were open carrying and they didn't have any kind of situational awareness, or they seemed not to. Now, I can have a conversation. I could be having a conversation with my wife and kids and friends in public, and it may seem like I am deep into that conversation. But if you watch me, or if you watch my kids, you'll see that they're constantly looking left, looking right. They never lose their situational awareness. Now, simple things that you can do when you are in public. Number one, look around, get your head up off of the ground, quit looking at your feet, and look left and right. Get your head out of your attention vampire. What are you talking about? Attention vampire? That little digital thing that you're probably listening to this show right now. Get your head out of your iPhone, out of your smartphone. Don't walk down the street looking at your phone. Get your head up. If you're going to make a phone call or use it, raise your head up and put it up high so that you're at very least are able to use your peripheral vision. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go to the mall someday or a public shopping center, put your back to a wall and just observe people and watch and see how many citizens walk right by you completely oblivious to everything that's going on around them. If you're going to carry a gun, you want to be, if you want to be oblivious, don't carry a gun. If you just want to blend with the sheep, put your head down on your iPhone. Hey, drive on. This is America. You can do whatever you want to do, but don't carry a gun. If you're a gun carrier, you have to be a responsible citizen. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice because if you're not a responsible citizen, it's going to come out and it's going to bite you. Now, simple things like what's behind me? Back to the wall. When I was a police officer, when I was working as a professional bodyguard, and I still do it, I'm constantly aware of what is behind me. And I don't like people I don't know being behind me. Even when I'm at the checkout line in a store and people, come in behind you, I'll deliberately blade my body sideways so that I'm not just 6 o'clock with someone behind me. Don't like it. Makes me uncomfortable. And there's a reason, because I need to know what's going on behind me for my own safety. And if you're carrying a gun, whether open or concealed, and, a lot of this advice you say, okay, it's for open carry. It works for everybody. If you're going to carry a gun open or concealed, you need to pay attention to your surroundings. What's going on around me? Put your back to a wall. Put your back somewhere where people aren't going to be able to approach you without you seeing them and being aware of it. And you say, well, that's paranoid, dude. It's called being prepared. If you want to live like a sheep, go listen to one of those, whiny little NPR stations on iTunes. But if you want to be a citizen, you want to be a meat eater, you hang out here with Paul Markle at Student of the Gun Radio, and we'll talk about being a meat eater. What else? Don't allow people to just approach you. It amazes me how people will approach you, stick out their hand, and assume that you're just going to grab it. It's like, if I don't know you, bro, don't just stick your hand out at me. Okay? I don't know you. Who are you? And the vagrants and panhandlers will do that. They'll walk up and act all friendly and stick their hand out. You're not required to shake the hand of every stranger you see. I mean, unless you're, a rock star or a celebrity or a movie star, and you're meeting and greeting people all the time. You don't need to be constantly sticking your hands out. Don't let people get into your personal space without your permission. And this goes, open, concealed, not even carrying, whatever. Don't just allow people to get into your space. Put your hand up, give them that universal stop sign. Say, oh, hey, hang on, hold on a second. What do you need? How can I help you? Another good one, when these vagrants and panhandlers and what have you, when they approach you on the street or on the beach or on the sidewalk or whatever, and they're like, hey, buddy, hey, excuse me, hey, can I help you? You say, no, thanks. And James Yeager taught me that no, thanks. Or not today. A lot of times I'll give them not today. Because here, what they're trying to do is they're trying to gauge, number one, whether or not you're paying attention. And number two, whether or not you're going to allow them to enter your personal space and distract you with some superfluous crap that they're talking about. But, when the panhandler, the stranger, the person who potentially is going to be robbing you or mugging you, when they come up and they're like, oh, hey, excuse me, whatever, throw up that universal stop sign. Put your left hand up there and say, oh, hold on. And either they're going to do one or two things. They're going to they're going to stop, and they're going to oh, no, it's cool. I just want to know what time it is, or they're going to ignore it and keep coming. And if they ignore the universal stop sign and keep coming towards you, you got about 1 second to figure out what you're going to do. But at least you have that 1 second because you were paying attention. But the panhandlers, hey, buddy, hey, can I ask you a question? Not today. Or no, thanks. And if you give them the no thanks, or you say no autographs, please. I dropped that one on a guy in Las Vegas, a street hoodlum panhandler, and it just screwed up his OODA loop, because What they're used to is they're used to you saying no, and they're all ready to step over that. They hear that all the time. They just ignore it. But you throw them a curveball, you say no thanks, and they're like, what? I wasn't asking for what? That guy say no thanks to me? Or not today. So should I come back tomorrow? I don't understand what he means. So if I come back and approach him tomorrow, no, just do something other than what they're expecting. Do something other than what they're expecting. Okay. So pay attention to your surroundings. Put your back to the wall. Don't allow people to enter your personal space. This is all good advice, whether you're concealed carrying or whether you're open carrying. Now, let's talk about some specifics. And one of the anti-gun or the anti-open carry people will say, well, but it's stupid because you're going to get in trouble with the local police. Well, why would I do that? Well, because you're carrying a gun. Yeah, but it's not against the law. It doesn't matter, man. The cops are going to be on you. They're going to key on you. And they're going to like, oh, well, hang on a second now. Is it lawful or is it unlawful? And people that say, well, yeah, but that doesn't matter. I know cops that are going to do it. Like, well, if you really legitimately feel that the police in your area are going to pick on you for following the law, why don't you think that they would do the same thing when you're driving down the street? Well, you know, if they're going to if you're telling me that the law enforcement officers in your area cannot be trusted not to harass you, then why do you think they wouldn't do it when you're just driving down the street? Why do you think they wouldn't just pull you over and harass you? You know, oh no, they wouldn't do that. But I mean, if they saw you with a gun, like it's silliness. They're either going to or they're not, but you need to understand the law and you need to understand your rights. Now, what's going on in Mississippi right now? Obviously, we've got thousands upon thousands of police officers who have to understand or who had to be taught how to deal with open carry, with the open carry situation. And the Attorney General for Jim Hood, the Attorney General of the state of Mississippi, what they did is to answer the questions of sheriffs and chiefs of police and what have you, is how can we deal with these people, or do we need to do something differently? Is it, if I see someone with a gun on their hip, is that probable cause? And so what the Attorney General did is he issued an 11-page official legal opinion. And you legalese people, what we're going to do for you is we're going to put the link up and you can find it. It's online. And essentially what it says, there's a lot of good information in this. It's 11 pages, so it's too long to quote verbatim here. But one of the big things in there is, according to the Attorney General, it says open carry in and of itself, just because a person is lawfully open carrying a firearm, that is not probable cause for a Terry stop and frisk. Now, for you who are not hip on your legalese, the Terry stop and frisk goes back to a 1968 court case where it was found that a police officer, if he has reasonable, articulable suspicion that a person is engaged in a criminal activity or is about to be engaged in a criminal activity, that he can temporarily detain that person and he can frisk them for weapons or contraband. But the key words in that phrase is reasonable and articulable suspicion. Now, what is remember, we lost the language, so we got to talk about it. What is an articulable suspicion? That means that officer would have to be able to write down on paper an explanation of why he felt the need to stop that person. Well, it's 3 a.m., and the dogs are barking, and I look and I see a dark shadow, and I see a guy run through the alley into the abandoned building behind the grocery store. Okay, that is suspicious behavior, or I will put that down as my reason for suspicious behavior. Or I get an alarm call, and as I'm rolling up to the alarm call, I see a guy running away from the building. Well, I've got an alarm. I see a man running from the building where the alarm is going off. I have a reasonable suspicion that that person may be involved in criminal activity. Well, according to the Attorney General, simply seeing a person that is in possession of a firearm is not probable cause. You cannot use that as probable cause for a stop and frisk. You can't say, well, why did you stop and frisk, Joe Citizen there? Well, I stopped and frisked him because he had a gun, because I saw he had a gun. Okay. According to the legal opinion, that is not probable cause for a stop. Now, there may be other extenuating circumstances. That's not to say that the person carrying the gun is, just because you have one, is a get out of jail free card. If you're doing stupid things, if you're, doing things you shouldn't be doing and you're carrying a gun, you're wrong. You are wrong. But just being out in public with a gun exposed does not put you into that position. And also it says according to the legal opinion, it says any police officer is within their rights to question or to communicate, ask someone in public. You're on a public street, you're in a public area, and a police officer approaches you and he asks you a question. Okay. They can lawfully do that. They can lawfully approach you, ask you questions. And it says that there's nothing to stop them from doing that. However, according to the legal opinion, the carrier, if the carrier has not committed a crime or in the process of committing a crime, and there is not a reasonable or probable cause for the stop, the person is not required to submit to questioning, and barring other mitigating circumstances, is not required to stay there, not required to remain there. Now, this goes back into our, this is like Police Academy Day 2 stuff here. But what is the definition of an arrest? Well, the definition of an arrest is when the person in question is no longer free to go. That is the definition of an arrest. It's not when the handcuffs go on. It's not when they've been Mirandized, or all you people that like to watch movies and TV. It's not after you've been, you have the right to remain silent, blah, blah, all that crap. No. The arrest becomes effective the moment that the subject is not allowed to leave. And you say, well, how do I know when that is? Well, if you're talking to a police officer and he's asking you questions and you don't feel comfortable answering them, and you say, I don't feel comfortable, I'm going to leave. And he says, no, you are not allowed to leave. Or you say to him, can I leave? If he says, no, you cannot leave, at that moment in time, you are effectively under arrest. When you say, well, but he hasn't put handcuffs on me, it doesn't matter. Handcuffs are for officer safety. Handcuffs don't, the touching of the handcuff to the wrist does not at that magical moment in time make you arrested. The moment that you can no longer leave, let's say you are pulled over. Now, can police officers, an arrest can be as short as 15 seconds, or it can be as long as, hours or years or whatever. But an arrest is a temporary detainment of an individual prior to trial. Okay? So what do you want to do? Number one, if you're going to open carry, look, this is the way it is. You better have your attorney on speed dial. Yeah, have your attorney on speed dial. And you say, well, I'm not breaking the law. It doesn't matter. Because think about it like this. You and I pay close attention to the law. We understand what's going on. But what do you think about the hippie coffee shop owner? The hippie coffee shop owner who doesn't have any no gun signs or anything like that, but they don't think people should have guns, and guns are bad, and they voted for Obama twice. So you walk into their coffee shop to get yourself a large mocha grande frappa whatever, and they see that you have a gun on. They freak and call the police. There's a man with a gun. Come quickly. 911. Whew. And so what happens? They hear man with a gun, come quickly, and they come quickly, and there you are. And they come blasting in because they think you're robbing the place, and you're just trying to get your super frappa mocha, whatever, skinny, low fat with soy milk, which if you listen to me, you probably don't drink that anyway. But that is who you really need to be worried about. It's not so much your local police officers, because they've already gone through in-service training. They know what to do. If they don't, shame on them, but most of them they will. It's the citizen that doesn't approve of the existence of guns anyway and is offended by seeing one. Now, how long is it going to take them to get over that? I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take the hippies to get over seeing people with guns. But I can guarantee you this. eventually they will. Eventually they'll get over it. Eventually, when they keep calling because they see people with guns, the dispatcher is going to say to them, well, what are they doing? Walking down the street. If that's all they're doing, then don't worry about it. Eventually they'll get over it. Eventually the hippies, well, either that or they'll be so scared that they'll just flee and they can go and live in the People's Republic of California or something like that. So open carry versus concealed. Yes, it's another one of those things that we like to argue about, but it's not the end of the world. And the truth is after, 6 months or a year, everything will be back to normal again. And those who carry will carry and those who don't. Now, before we let you guys go, I got a really super special announcement for you. If you are a dedicated hardcore fan of Student of the Gun, you'll probably know that we started out as a 30-minute television show on the Pursuit channel. And we also have been on the Sportsman's channel. And then last year we did a complete a focus upgrade on our website. We made our website a 24/7. Shows available. The video is available, the radio is available, the articles are available, the Student of the Gun gear store, everything is there at studentofthegun.com. And we focused real hard on that for 1 year. Well, what we've done is we just cut a deal with the Hunt channel. Now, the Hunt channel is a new outdoor channel. It's going to be on Dish Network, channel 266. So, yes, Student of the Gun is back on broadcast TV. We're back on satellite. We're back on Dish. Now, when you hear this, we won't be up yet. We're going to be up in July. We're coming up towards the end of July. So I want you guys to check your local listings, check your times and dates and local listings and so forth. But we will be on the Hunt channel. Now, the Hunt, they partnered with Angel 2 Broadcasting. That's right. If you're a Dish Network subscriber and you go to Angel 2, channel 266, you'll see that they are offering time to the Hunt channel to bring you quality outdoor hunting and Student of the Gun TV. So you can watch us from the comfort of your easy chair in your den or your living room. Now, don't forget about our Crossbreed Holster giveaway contest. We're giving away 5 holsters for 5 weeks. We've already picked the first winner, and congratulations. But if you want to be a winner, all you have to do is go to studentofthegun.com. Over on the right-hand side there's a sign-up for our weekly electronic newsletter. Sign up for it. You will be entered into the contest. Don't forget our good friends, Keltec Weapons of Cocoa, Florida. You can check out all the cool stuff that they have to offer by going to keltecweapons.com. And, of course, our good friends at the Firearms Radio Network. Now, don't forget, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.